Welcome to Inside the Wires. Hands down, the best podcast in all of racket sports. Listener discretion may be advised for a younger audience.
Hey, Paddle World. Welcome to Inside the Wires, the greatest podcast of all time. Today, we're lucky to have two people who have been giving everything to the paddle world for years, but especially the last few months leading to the highly successful Baltimore Open this weekend. Yes, I'm talking about Sam Byram and Nobu Tanaka. So without further ado, let's get the show started.
Recorded the clock. All right.
Got it.
We're live. All right, you want me to lead us in?
Go.
We don't have any outline at all, huh? We're just kind of winging it.
It's
I love
zero.
it.
I like
love
this.
it.
I haven't got back into this. Hey, you can only see the top of your head.
Isn't that enough?
See
Here,
It's really,
perfect.
it's
Your eyes
really good
only.
looking.
It's actually Noah's best view. Just
You have a
eyebrows up. Yeah.
You have a beautiful forehead.
No, I will say, Noah, you
That's a 5 head.
I could tell it was you. I could tell it was you on the live stream, but you were talking much more like softer, like a golf voice. I was like, at some points, I was like, "Is that Noah?" Like, I think it's Noah.
You know, my wife said that. I showed her that I was on, and she said I was too quiet. So the second one, I made sure I had my mic closer. But I think that's somebody's.
I don't think you were too quiet. I just think you were speaking soft, like slower, like a golf voice. I could hear you fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It was just
the
Did
problem
you
is
just tell you bring that voice home with you?
I don't enunciate usually when I talk, so I made a conscious effort to try to talk more slowly and enunciate, but I'm not sure it worked.
No, I think it worked. I think it sounded good.
Oh, thanks, pal. All right, let's get going here. So, all right. Welcome back to the show, guys. We're happy to be joined by the organizers of the recently completed Baltimore Open. We've got Nobu Tanaka, the director at the Larendale Club, and Sam Byram. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. So, the word on the street with everybody who was at the tournament was how fantastic it was organized and how it looked like everything came off without a hitch. And, people were super impressed with Baltimore and the Baltimore area. Talk to us a little bit about kind of what it was like from your standpoint. Were there any problems that propped up? Or, it's 80 degrees out there the whole time, I think, for the tournament. So that makes it a little bit easier when you don't have to worry about snow or rain or that kind of stuff. But what happened with the tournament from your perspective?
I think they had to put up with Innes for like 5 days, right? Was he there hanging out for 5 days? Put up with that motherfucker.
No, my paddle was great. I'll talk maybe on the organizational side, and I'll let Nobu tackle the playing side of things. But look, it was warm, but from a spectator standpoint, we'll take it. It brought people out. If it's 40 and rainy, not so much food and bev biz done, and that's certainly part of it when you're throwing one of these. So, organizationally, Nobu and I and Jack Taylor, who did a great job, and Mike Barron, who's the head of GM at Larendale, we kind of threw it out there and winged it and rolled the dice. We didn't really know what we were tackling at the time when we put it together, but with some pretty good organization and a little bit of luck, and a great job done by the host club. Really good food, really good hospitality. We started out kind of with the focus of we wanted to make this a players tournament. We wanted to have the entry fee be as low as possible, the purse as high as possible, housing for as many people as we could have, great food, lunch, dinner, drinks for everybody. So we surveyed a lot of players and put a lot of phone calls out, and we tried to do that, and somehow I think we pretty much pulled it off.
I think that's a good formula. Keep them eating, drinking, and watching paddle in good weather, right?
Yeah, you can't miss with that.
Mhm.
Sam, did you talk to Edwin Lewis? That sounds like his game plan from Louisville. That's how he runs that.
Yeah, no, I didn't talk to Edwin, but I'd heard. I'm certainly willing to copy success. I mean, that's what we kind of did with our local tournament here, copying the New Jersey Classic. And when I heard everybody raving about the Bourbon Ball, you copy what people are raving about, and we tried to do just that here. Nobody been to Baltimore. It's a new spot. It's south of Philly, so it's further drive for Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Jersey. So we tried to get the players here, and that was a lot of phone calls and begging and pleading, and selling our story. And luckily for us, a lot of people bought in and really just couldn't be more appreciative of the players. I really give the ladies' side a huge amount of kudos. I mean, when you have that stacked a lineup on the ladies' side, committing, and many of them committing very early to us, it went a long way, and our Baltimore ladies turned out and gave them a lot of support. So they were thrilled to see that level.
Sam, was this the second Baltimore Open? This is the second time you guys have done this year? Or
no, this is the first one. We have the Maryland States every year, which is an NRT, and Nobu can speak to that a little bit more, since he goes a lot further in the tournament than I do. but no, I mean, I think the first, and I've said it several times, and people have heard me repeat it, but we did run the Charm City Classic last year.
That's what I was getting confused with, the Charm City Classic. That's right.
Yeah, and that was a 64 team draw, and we pulled it off. People were excited, and I think since we pulled that off, and the APTA knew about it and were involved a little bit, helping us with signups, registration, and everything. And when they saw us pull that off pretty much without a hitch, when we did put in the RFP for the tour event, I think that tournament did go a long way.
Like I'm sure, like anyone else, right? Like when you run a tournament like this, and especially since it was like the first big one, you're always probably thinking about like, what can we do next year, right? Like what bigger, how can we make this better for next year? So do you guys come up with anything of like, how you can turn this into an even bigger tournament next year?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was pretty successful, and a lot of players were saying, this should be an opportunity for a Grand Prix, and which is a pretty high compliment, and it goes a long way for Nobu and the club and me. Timing is a little bit tough here, because some of our courts, Larendale has heaters, but a lot of the courts around town do not. So we can't roll the dice on a January Grand Prix, and then you got charities next weekend. So what we kind of came up with was we don't need to be a Grand Prix, but we'd like to be Indian Wells, and we'd like to be the fifth major, huge purse, great food, the one that the players aren't gonna miss. Right. But we won't be a Grand Prix. It would be tough for us to do that. So if we get to the point where we're a tournament that everyone wants to come into, and if we can jack the purse up, if we're so lucky to have it next year. Look, we had 20 grand for this one. And that's, I think, about double most NRT or APTA tour events. We did that on purpose, obviously, to get people here, and it worked. And once we got them here, we showed them a good time. But look, I asked a lot of players, APTA, Mark Innes, how do we make this better? And fortunately for us, they said you did pretty good.
Great to hear. It's awesome. Nice work.
As like some of the events do, Sam, would you throw a 90s in on like the Friday?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, we tried to keep the tournament to the clubs that are really close by. And that was another thing for the players. I mean, no one had more than a 5-minute drive to a court, which, is huge. We could expand it a little bit, and maybe that's on a Thursday, or we're open to anything. I mean, again, we just threw it out there, rolled the dice, and see what happened. We're open to anything, and all suggestions are welcome. And we're going to kind of regroup this week and go over everything, go over the finances, make sure it worked for everybody. We don't have all that sorted out yet, but I think we came in, around budget, which is good, and it's got to work for the host club. Look, Larendale rolled the dice; they shut down their club operations for the whole weekend, so they did no business inside their club. Members, weren't allowed in the club, so their whole weekend was dependent on the tournament, the tent, the sponsor deck, the bars, everything. So there was a lot of trust there, and they went with us on it. But it's got to work for them. Otherwise, they're going, well, we might as well just leave the club operations open, and we don't need to go through all this. But I think it made the club look great. When we're at a club like Larendale, and I think already on the live stream views are over 17,000 views. That's pretty good press for a club, and the tournament just ended today, so that's pretty good.
Pretty amazing. I didn't know it was that high.
Yeah, that's what we get for these Inside the Wires YouTube. 17 to 20,000.
That's right. But only in the first few days after it's released.
Right.
So
I think I've honestly seen our YouTube video yet.
Oh, they're excellent. Everybody's watching me. Are you kidding me? So one of the things I've heard in talking to some of the APTA people that were there, which actually there were quite a few, was they're very impressed, I think, with a lot of the newer tour events and kind of the job they're doing, whether it's Medina here in Chicago, which you guys obviously just completed in Baltimore, the Montclair tournament, which is now in its second year. They had some bad weather, unfortunately, this year, but the new tournaments are, I mean, the difference between some of these older established tournaments is they've always done things a certain way, and they're just kind of, redoing that year after year. But the newer tournaments are, whether you guys, Louisville, thinking of new things to do and new ways to get people excited about it. And it's absolutely fantastic for the game, for sure. But yeah, you guys, I mean, the food at your place was unbelievable. The proximity of all the locations was great. It was unbelievable. The support from your fans, first thing in the morning was unbelievable. So it was definitely a home run from that standpoint. Talk about this a little bit. Yours was the first tournament I could think of, and maybe there's some others out there, but you guys actually had 2 of your 3 major sponsors were national level sponsors, which I thought was kind of interesting. And obviously those are the sponsors I would think should be hopefully more involved with whether it's APTA events or the APTA as a whole. Can you talk about how you got those? And they were, just to give them another plug, T. Rowe Price and Stiefel, which is a brokerage firm.
Yeah, and our third one was MVP, Maury Donnelly and Parr, an insurance company. But look, T. Rose and Stiefel are big names. We are lucky that these were kind of somewhat inside jobs, but it still took some work. T. Rowe Price, the CEO, Rob Sharps, plays in our league, so that was helpful. And then a lot of Stiefel guys play in the league, so they certainly weren't layups. We had to go to bat. And we put together a proposal for them, and we're able to raise that money there. And look, there were a lot of individual supporters as well. A lot of people in our league gave pretty good numbers to make this happen. But for our sponsors to get the amount of money that we did from big name companies, and I agree. I mean, if you've got names like those associated with the APTA, nothing against all other tournaments and sponsors, but those are big names. They're good to have.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about the tournament a little bit. Nobu, you and Tomas Christian played together. The interesting thing about the different draws, the men's versus the women, the women's had almost all of the top women players in the country, the top whatever 5 or 6 teams playing. Lynn Kiro, unfortunately, I guess got sick, so she wasn't able to make it down. So Macy Elliott had a substitute. Vera Besanova was her partner, who, shout out to Vera, hits the ball really, really hard. I was quite impressed with that.
Yeah, I need her forehand.
Yeah, no, and backhand. She hit her backhand just as hard. But the women's draw was a little bit smaller, but had, again, a lot of the top players that everybody might already know. And the men's draw was, I mean, if you want to go see some instant classic paddle, go take a look at the I think it was the semifinals and the finals for the men's. I mean, some of the points were going on were absolutely amazing, but it was not a lot of the guys that are in the semifinals, or maybe sometimes even the quarterfinals for the national tournament, but certainly will be soon, I'm sure. A lot of great young players were playing on the men's side, and just really exciting points. So can you talk about that, maybe, Nobu, from your own perspective? You guys had a hell of a match too.
Yeah, we had a good grind against Tim and Tin, I think is their names, in the quarters. Yeah, as a player, look, it was really fun to watch the women's draw. I mean, there's a reason those top 4 teams are where they are, and all those players they're all great. I mean, all the women players were great all throughout the draw. But from more of a spectating standpoint for the women's tournament, I thought it was really fun to see, the best of the best play and square up against each other, and have some really awesome points, seeing girls crush forehands, backhands, cutters, they were doing it all. And on the men's side, we were talking about this, Tomas and I were talking about this a little bit when we were driving over to play our quarters. And actually, Sam picked the dark horses to win the tournament before the draw even went out. And Tomas was actually talking about Jose and Alvi before the tournament even started. On that side, it was really cool to see all these new young teams come through, make their mark, and inject maybe some new life into that arena. Look, at this level, I think men and women at the tour level, there are no easy matches. Everyone is great. You got to go out there and earn all your points, all your matches. But it was fun to see new faces. I think from a player perspective, to see new faces making their mark, making an impact. Getting that name recognition for themselves. Obviously, Jose and Alvi, now being the winners of the Baltimore Open, are starting to make a name for themselves all across the tour. So it's really fun on that front to see new blood be in there. And for me personally, this was my 4th event, I think. And it's fun to compete against those guys and see that different level of paddle, and to also feel like, hey, I can survive over here a little bit. Obviously, having Tomas as a partner is incredible, but it was a lot of fun for me to play with a lot of great players. I mean, Tim and Tin, we had a 2 hour, 45-minute grind of a match where I think all 4 players were cramping up towards the end. So just all across good paddle, lots of fun, and to make, the icing on the cake is that everyone's a good dude. All the women in the draw, they were amazing people in general. So fun to get that kind of camaraderie and good paddle.
Well, I think the one thing that you
No,
didn't mention.
Nobu, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say the one thing you didn't mention.
Oh.
Go ahead. Now you thought of it. Go ahead, Ben. What'd you have?
No. I was just going to tell Nobu if he wanted to stay on off after the call, we'll give him some nutrition and fitness advice.
Yes,
Oh,
please.
yeah.
You know,
Please.
you and Ara we can definitely help him with that. We'll get him through these tough paddle matches.
Right,
Yeah,
right up our alley for sure.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Tan Ostajic and Tommy Gregorovic. I mean, the interesting thing was they took down the number one seeds, who's Scott Kaler and Dan Hansen in their second match. They played an opening round match, and then they took down the number one seed. Had a grind there. Nobu, you guys talking about you had a 3-set grind with Tin and Tommy. And what wasn't mentioned was it was like 85 degrees. I think you guys played at 2:00. And after, the first two matches you already had, then you're playing at 85-degree temperatures for 2+ hours. So it was some tough temperatures for the guys. I think somebody threw up on off court. They got off the court at least, but I think somebody threw up from the heat during that quarterfinal match.
Yeah, I mean, the heat was definitely a factor. I will say, thinking that I had played enough tennis in my life, that I would have been used to it, or that my body would have been acclimated to those kinds of conditions. But, to your point, I think earlier Sam was talking about how the warmer weather allowed for more exciting play for the spectators to watch. And it definitely did, and it was a lot of fun to play in as well, because you could hit your drives, you could hit lots of transition play. Balls were coming out hot off the wires, so you could do fun stuff with the ball off of the wires. The cutters were grabbing, so it made for very play, but I think it also made it extremely physical, because there was a lot of transition, running back and forth, chasing down. I mean, I felt like I was chasing screen drives and rollers all day long. But so yeah, the conditions were tough, but look, at the end of the day, conditions are tough for everyone. So
well, that's what made it kind of interesting, I think, for people to watch the live streaming though too, was that the points weren't ending very easily unless there were just some unbelievable shots, because the ball was staying up and people were able to get it back, and obviously all the athletes were younger and great condition. So,
and I think it shows how the game is evolving as well, right? Where it's becoming much more athletic. It's very physical now. I can't even think of one guy that doesn't have a tennis background in there. So, it's exciting stuff, and it's changing the game, or revolutionizing the game, however you want to, call it. But yeah, everyone's studly athlete, and it's just tough to win points now.
For sure. So talk about the winners a little bit. We on the women's side, we had Charlotte Sikora and Allison Morgan, who won for the second week in a row. They won at Medina, and now they won out in Baltimore. Actually, the men's side too, with Albi Regalado and Jose Salazar Martin won for their second week in a row. They won at Sound Shore last week, and then this week. So it's interesting momentum heading into charities here. So we'll get this episode out this week before charities, but good momentum for them, certainly. Talk a little bit about, I think people, you addressed a little bit earlier, but a lot of the players came from either the Philadelphia area, which, they may be a little bit more familiar with Baltimore paddle, but a lot of the players from the tri-state area, whether coming from Connecticut or Jersey or New York, had all said they'd never been out to Baltimore. I mean, Tom Murphy, who played in the men's finals, said he'd never been out to Baltimore to play. So you kind of exposed a whole bunch of high level players to what's new in Baltimore and what's going on there, which must have been nice to get those people out there that had never been.
Yeah, it's I think there's a reason it's called Charm City. There's a very charming quality about Baltimore. I think it's a very underrated city, to be honest. Coming from DC, all my friends gave me a little bit of grief coming up to Baltimore. But it really is. It's a super fun place to live in. And I think the players got some exposure to that. I was lucky enough to go out with Mark Innes, and we had a little group of guys, and Macy actually joined us as well. And we got to hang out and went out to some bars and had a good time. So I think, yeah, again, when things are status quo, it gets kind of monotonous and I don't want to say boring, but just doing the same thing over and over year after year can get kind of repetitive, right? Obviously. So I think to Sam's point, you know, we try to make this venue fun, exciting, and I think as a player, being able to travel somewhere that a tournament has never been held in before, made it that much more exciting for people to come down and visit. So hopefully, you know, after hearing good reviews from the men and the women about the venue, again, I don't know of many tournaments that have those grandstands outside of nationals. And like you said, I was pleasantly surprised on Friday at how many people were out there watching the quarterfinals. I mean, even the round of 16, you know, supporting the players and creating that energetic environment for all the people. So I think having something new and fun and being able to explore a new city made it all more exciting for all the players to come out.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, Nobu, because a lot of times I watch the live streams, and sometimes, you know, sometimes I'm a little disappointed and like, hey, why doesn't it seem like there's a lot of people watching? But for this one, you guys had the bleachers set up back, and it always looked like it was packed. And not only were there people sitting there, they seemed engaged and they seemed to be like cheering on the players.
Oh yeah,
It was just, I felt like, wow, this is another step forward for the game. You know, like now we're getting more people showing up and more people engaged, and it's just really great. And especially for a region like Baltimore, which didn't have a tournament this big before, I'm sure it really took like the people who love paddle and just like took them to another level. So really appreciate you guys
100%.
doing all that. It's great,
No.
great work.
Yeah, there were, I mean, you know, we had the grandstand and that was huge, a great view set up right there. But, you know, there were people wrapped around the other side of the court. I mean, during the quarters when Nobu was playing on court one, which wasn't the live stream court, that court was wrapped with 100 people. Down the line, when one of our other local pros, Duncan Miller, was in a grind in the second round against Cohen and Heck from Pittsburgh. Those guys who made the semis, I mean, I don't think they noticed the heat. They wanted to be out there all day long. And loved it. And you know, there were a lot of what you saw there on the camera. We had the whole deck, we had wraparound around the other side, and the grandstand, and then you know there were the people that were concentrating on you know, more on the beverages behind the grandstand. But yeah, you know, they came out. You never know. I mean, you can build it and see if they'll come. But they did. So we were pleased. People were fired up. Most people down here, you know, I don't know what percentage of the league have never, men's and women's league have never seen anything like that. It's a high percentage. People don't travel around to, you know,
Right.
the tournaments. But
yeah, no,
yeah,
I asked several people I talked with and if they'd ever seen high level paddle like this live before, and you know, they all said no. And I think paddle, you know, sometimes we get used to it because we're going to see these tournaments and we see live streaming. But you know, if you haven't, I think paddle's a lot like hockey. It's enjoyable to watch on a live stream, but it's just altogether different when you're actually there watching it live, and you have such a better appreciation for it. So I think it was neat for the people in Baltimore to be able to get the looks at that high level, you know, and sit right next to the court to do it.
Yeah.
no, I'll give huge props to the players. I mean, it's one thing for people to watch them, but then, you know, when the players are all out after their matches, drinking beers, hanging out at the tables with the players, mixing it up. I mean, there were so many class acts on the women's side and on the men's side out there hanging around. Macy hung out for the whole weekend. Hold on.
There you
You're
go.
back,
still
Sam.
hear
You're
me?
good. Yep, you're back.
Sorry. You know, Macy was hanging around all weekend. Anna and Flora are out there. Morgan and Secor are doing camps while here. I mean, I didn't know Andrew Ong and Tom Murphy at all. I mean, those two are, class acts, those guys. I do know Alvi and Jose, and, you don't get any nicer, and Tommy and Tin and, everybody, Tomas, it was just, I give them all such props for hanging out the whole time. And that's what we wanted. We wanted everybody, and we figured if we gave them dinner and we gave them drinks, maybe they'd hang out after their matches, and they all did, and they were just super.
Talk about a guy that is outdoing my man bun, man. That made me so mad. He's outdoing my hair and my game. Like, I can't compete with that.
That's Andrew Ong for people who aren't sure who Nobu's talking about. Yeah, the funny thing was
Ben loves the man bun. He's talked about it before on the on the podcast. He had an interaction. Ong called him out. Said, "Come and get it."
We may have to Photoshop a man bun on Noah's head.
I don't. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
I see Andrew probably like weekly these days. Now he's in Chicago, and I threaten to cut that man bun off every time I see him.
Yeah, you need to follow through so I can at least have the best hair on the APA tour.
Well,
he is the nicest guy.
Nobu, I did see you from about 50, 60 feet away, and was pretty sure that was Andrew. And then you turned around and I realized it wasn't Andrew. But from the back and the side, it looked like Andrew. You couldn't tell. So
well, good. That's a nice compliment for me then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was working it there in the finals there. He was, those guys put up a good show. So I think it was great. I think what you guys have done is unbelievable for, again, we're what, 12 hours, not even 12 hours past the end of the tournament, and everybody was a huge fan. And again, you guys in Medina and Louisville are kind of setting new standards for what tournaments should look like. So I think it was absolutely amazing what you guys have done. So congrats on that. And I think everybody's already looking forward to next year's tournament.
Well, we got to make sure that we get it, but the APTA, I think, was pleased. I mean, they were all down here keeping an eye on us. So I think we put on a good show, and some of the back to the matches. I mean, there were some that the women's final 3-setter Saturday morning was an awesome match. I got the pleasure of calling it with Jerry, which is being a live stream fanboy. That was a highlight for me. I tried just to stay out of the way and let her do the work and pop in every few seconds with a yup or But and then on the men's side, I'm interested to see what a couple of these teams are going to do the rest of the way. I know Alvi and Jose are not playing charities, but I think once the new year hits, they'll be playing the rest of the way. Tommy and Tin, it's kind of cool. Well, I hope that people say in Baltimore, hey, I saw those guys before they really hit the big time, and I think they showed that they are on the cusp. I mean, would you be super surprised if one of those teams made it to the quarters of nationals? I would not be.
No,
not at all.
No, there's some good teams there for sure.
So Sam, I got a question for you. I think all of our listeners are really eager to know, right? The favors. What were the favors this year? I mean, everybody's trying to get more and more creative. And of course, what did the winners get? What did the champs get at the end?
So it's a good question, because I had kind of earmarked $50 for the favor, right? Like you're trying to figure out the finances of this thing. And at the start I was like, all right, maybe we do, put $50. Well, what is that going to get us? Okay. That's going to get us a hoodie. Maybe it gets us a cheap vest. Then I go into my closet and I've got, I think, 11 paddle vests. Then I go into, my room. I've got a stack of 15 hoodies. And then I started calling some players. And I said, look, what do you want? Do you want another hoodie or a vest? Or if we, get a good deal and get a nice, Under Armour shirt, Under Armour's local company, and we got some ties there. Maybe that costs us $20, and we take the other 30 and we give you dinner and a bunch of drink tickets. Which do you want? Do you want a vest or do you want a shirt and dinner and drinks? Everyone said, give me the shirt and dinner and drinks. Now the shirts are great. I mean, people love the shirts. And we've got some extras and we sold those. So we took that kind of extra $30 that we had and we put it towards kind of the player experience. And I think that was the right decision.
Wait, and can you talk about the dinner too? Because the meals there were off the charts.
My man Noah loved the ramen. I'll tell you that much.
I was living on nicotine gum and water for about 2 days was my my diet. But look, they had brisket, they had Reubens, they had quesadillas, they had crab soup, they had lobster rolls. I mean, it was they went all out on the food, and the players were, I think it was one player walked in at the start, saw the tent, and asked if there was a wedding going on while we were playing, or while they were playing, and we said no, that's all for you. And then we gave Floor her check, and she said, "This is the wrong amount." And and we said, "No, that's the right amount." She said, "No, it's the wrong amount. We didn't win." We said, "No, that's the right amount. That's what you get for getting to the finals." And she was pleasantly surprised. On the prizes, this was a little bit of a wing it. We did a kind of a platter, a white rectangular, ceramic platter with the logo, which is kind of a crab with they're really big on the Maryland flag down here. So everything is the Maryland flag. So it's a Maryland flag colored crab. We put that in the center of the platter. We did not put, Baltimore Open 2023 champions on it, because we kind of figured a lot of these players have enough of that stuff, and maybe they put it in their kitchen and they use it. Charlotte Segura was like, well, now I got something to serve on my Thanksgiving.
There you go.
And so we did it a little bit differently. We'll see. We only gave prizes due to the size of the checks. We only gave the plates to the winners.
There you go. And how many people got? How far down did you go with checks?
So if you got to the quarters, you got $250. If you got to the semis, $500. Finalist $1,000, and if you won it, you got $2,000 a piece. So not too bad for 24 hours or less work. It was a suggestion by somebody. I think it was Patty Hogan who said, pay down to the quarters and let people in the quarters cash a check. And I thought that was a great idea. I mean, it cost you $120 to get in. We also provided housing for a lot of people. And so if you can provide housing, people are driving. It was $120. You get gourmet food, good drink, and a shot at making some money. Sounds like playing paddle in 85-degree heat. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me.
So I should thank Patty for paying for my drinks for last night, huh?
Did you spend your check last night, Nobu?
Not the whole check, but we got pretty close to it. I had to drown away the cramps. I think that's part of Ben's nutritional program is recarb up with some beers.
Many.
Yeah, no, that I think last night was probably a late night from what I heard from some of the participants. I know I was out cold before 10 o'clock and I was exhausted from watching you guys in the heat. So
Well, I love seeing after the semi, Tom Murphy. I mean, look, he's not a small guy. He's a big dude, and his lady friend was had a huge black garbage bag, taking all of his like stuff that she'd accumulated over the day, shoes, clothes. I mean, it was almost full with his gear. He lasted, man. I mean, I didn't see him having a whole lot of trouble out there. So
I do have to
you big guys.
I do have to say, and I told Tom this right after I got off after they lost the finals, but I said, you're out there with guys that are like 10, 15 years younger than you. I said, you're giving hope for old fat guys all over the place against these young guys. So
I did ask him how old he was because I was curious, and he said 39, and hanging out with a lot of guys there were not 39. I'll say that.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was great all around. Hey, we're getting a little late on a Sunday night, and you guys have had a big weekend, so we'll wrap it up. But let's go with Nobu because Sam I think is now either tied or may have the lead for the most appearances on the show since we've had it, Ben. So so we got to focus on Nobu. So yeah, Sam's been on. This is Sam's third time. It's like Letterman or the Tonight Show where you start counting how many times you're on the show. But
right. When you don't have anybody, it's like, all right, just go get Byram. He'll do it. What the hell?
I don't know. I think it's more of a don't change a winning formula. Don't fix
That's
what
right.
broke.
That's right. So we're gonna focus on Nobu. So Ara, why don't you go with the 20 and 120? 20 questions in 120 seconds for Nobu to learn more about him.
All right.
Nobu, there's no thinking aloud. We're going to give you two options. You pick which option you want. We're going to start with 120 seconds. So are you ready, Nobu?
I'm ready.
Wait. Right. Do you have your time? Do you have your timer set? All right.
I've got it right here. I'm ready to go.
All right. Good.
I'm prepared, Noah.
Yes, you are.
Prepared.
Yes, you are. Take care of it.
This is not our first rodeo.
That's right.
All right, guys. Ready?
No pressure. Here we go.
All right, let's go. Cutter or waterfall?
Cutter.
Appetizer or dessert?
Appetizer.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Coke or Pepsi?
I'm not a soda guy, but I'll go Coke.
Aliens or Bigfoot?
Ooh, aliens.
Third set or pro flight paddle tiebreaker?
Third set. Unless I'm cramping.
Electric or American muscle?
I'll go with muscle.
Paddle or hockey?
Paddle.
All right. Belly flop or cannonball?
Oh. I'm going to go cannonball just because the belly flop hurts and I'm a big baby.
Suitcase or backpack?
Backpack.
Asia.
I didn't need all that stuff.
or garbage bag, we should say.
Yeah.
Asia or Europe?
Asia.
Fit in or stand out?
Stand out.
You an ice cream or cake guy?
Ice cream.
Dine in or delivery?
Delivery. Let me sit my fat butt on the couch and bring me my food.
All right. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck?
He said duck, by the way.
One horse-sized duck.
One horse-sized duck. Okay. Chrome or Safari?
Chrome.
Pirates or ninjas?
Ninjas, baby.
Oceans or mountains?
Ooh, tough one. I'm gonna go mountains.
Pizza or tacos?
Tacos.
Puffy or crunchy Cheetos?
Crunchy.
Cooking or dishes?
Cooking.
Hero or anti-hero?
Anti-hero.
And that is all. That's a wrap. 120 seconds. We got through almost all of the questions.
Nice.
Great work. Great work.
Now you know more about Nobu Tanaka, the director at Larendale, just from that. Well, thanks again, guys. It was again, it was an amazing weekend. I think you're gonna have no problem with next year to get an even stronger or bigger field. And again, people should check out the live streaming coverage. It was absolutely amazing. I mean, the two quarterfinals I did are really worth listening to for sure as a commentator. But even though even that aside, some of the matches were just unbelievable. So take a look if you can. Really, really high level, great paddle was being shown. So I think it was a home run all the way around, guys. Congratulations.
And hey, before we cut out, I just not just because you're on here, but just strictly as a player using your product. Big thank you, obviously, to all of our sponsors, Xenon being one of them. But also thank you, Noah, for all the stuff that you do for us as players from Xenon. We talked a little bit about it at the tournament, but your love for building out new things, always coming up with new and interesting ideas, and I can say personally from a player standpoint and as a director, trying to provide the best product and the best membership experience for my members. Xenon is second to none. You guys are far and away the best ones. I'll use your paddles all day long, baby.
Thanks. Unsolicited. I didn't know that was coming. It's much appreciated. It's always my pleasure to help. And actually, Nobu didn't say anything, but actually Nobu and Bernard were testing a brand new prototype that nobody even knows about yet this weekend. So much appreciated, Nobu.
Well, stay tuned because there's some good stuff, baby.
There you go. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it, guys. And again, congrats again. Really good stuff. And we'd love to have you on again next year when you do it again.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks
Awesome.
for coming. And
thank you.
All you guys again. Aura, next time, buddy boy.
I know, definitely.
I mean, Ben's got an excuse. He's got to hop a plane, but Ari, I mean, you're a few minutes up the road. Let's go.
You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. I have a paddle tournament coming up this weekend, actually. And I had to go because my wife is going and we have a bunch of friends going as well. So I couldn't do two in 2 weeks in a row. I'll give you a quick plug, though. It's the Green Mountain Open in Vermont.
Nice. Absolutely.
Yeah, my wife and I are playing the mixed, and I'm playing with my buddy, and then our wives are playing with the women's open. So it should be I think Thursday through Sunday of paddle. So it should be a lot of fun.
You're going to be in Philly?
No, it's in Vermont.
No.
Am I going to Philly? No, I don't
where-
know. I might. It's a couple hours away. It all depends on my kids' hockey schedule.
I know where the Green Mountains are, for Christ's sake.
I don't know. You're all the way down in the deep South, Baltimore.
I didn't grow up here. I'm not a local Baltimorean. I know what north of Philly is like.
Wait. So that is a good one. Now that's the second time I've heard that this weekend. Is that a real thing, or is that obviously a joke that you call people from Baltimore? Do people actually call themselves that?
Baltimoreans. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a local term, but it's more fun to use when you're not from here.
Yes, for sure. That was the first time I heard it was quite humorous.
Did you get any good Baltimore accents while you were here, Noah? Did you get any?
I didn't notice much of an accent. No. But then again, everyone says people from Chicago talk funny, so I don't know what that really means. I say, I don't know what you're talking about. Whenever I watch TV, they all talk just like us.
Right. No, it's you go to an Orioles game or a Ravens game, and you'll get it there, boy.
All right, good stuff, guys. Hey, thanks so much for being on tonight. We really appreciate the amazing events you guys put on.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thanks, guys. All right, that's a wrap. You heard all about the Baltimore Open, kind of the work it takes to put on a great new tournament, and what goes on with sponsorship and player experience, and all the inner workings, hopefully, of what goes on behind the scenes to make a great tournament. But Baltimore Open 2023, congrats to the Baltimore paddle community. It was a great event, and looking forward to next year already. And some phenomenal paddle was played this weekend in some really warm temperatures. So check out the live streaming if you have a chance. Why don't we listen to one of our competitors in the paddle podcast, Making a Racket, hosted by Mark Guinness and Justin Campbell and Macy Elliott. I'm waiting for you, Ben. Go ahead. Say something.
Causing a racket.
Causing a racket, not making a racket. Sorry.
And don't forget Juicy J.
I won't even go there. All right. Thanks for listening. Chicago Charity's coming up quickly, and then Philly Cricket next Grand Prix as well. So plenty of great paddle. We're in the thick of season. See ya.